featured stories about entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is someone who starts his own business and is fully responsible for its success or failure. Oftentimes, this can be called a sole proprietorship, a type of business entity that is owned and run by one natural person in which there is no legal distinction between the owner and the business. However, it can also grow into other types of businesses. Here are some facts about entrepreneurship.
95% of entrepreneurs have earned a bachelor's degree. 47% have advanced degrees. 69% of people who started their own business were married when they launched it. The majority of entrepreneurs are serial entrepreneurs, meaning they have launched 2.3 businesses. It's safer to start a business than stay in a job, but only 4.5% said the inability to find traditional employment was an important factor in starting a business. 75% have worked as employees for more than 6 years before launching their own business. 51% were the first in their families to launch their own business.
The average entrepreneur's salary is less than $50,000 a year. Only 37% of businesses have a success rate after 4 years. The industries with the highest success rate are finance, insurance, and real estate. 58% of these businesses were still operating after 4 years. Premature scaling, spending money beyond the essentials on growing the business before nailing the product market fit, is the most likely reason entrepreneurs fail. 25% of small businesses will fail in the first year. Although more businesses have been succeeding in recent years, there is always a steady decline in life of businesses as seen in this chart.
Now we will get a few inside interviews with some of Regina's best entrepreneurs.
Regina, my own business it's my hobby that I try to do more than make pay for itself. So one has to be careful about calling it a business, but I do have a tax number and I pay taxes and I have to file all that stuff. I do watercolors. I paint the watercolors, mat the watercolors, frame the watercolors, and then try to sell the watercolors. Most of the marketing I do is word of mouth. So it's not like I have a full-fledged business with my own studio. Not yet. When I retire, maybe that's where I'll go. Yeah. Okay. Selling art is definitely rewarding. Even when you don't sell art, and people come by and look at it, whether it's hanging on a wall in your studio or whether it's at an art fair, and they compliment it, that's an ego massage. And I think artists are definitely into that. At least I am. I don't mind being complimented about my art. But selling, what's tough about selling art is, how do you price it? Right now, since I don't have to make a living selling art, when I'm going to art fairs, I think I make some of my peers a little bit, I don't know if angry is the right word, they're selling things with a price on 2 to 3 times the price that I have, but that's because they're trying to make a living by doing it. And I look at it this way: how much would I, with my budget, be able to pay for a piece that I really liked? And that's what I try to charge. But it is rewarding to sell it, and I pretty much, especially at art fairs, and people really like a painting, I'm willing to dicker with them, or willing to give them, let them take it for a down payment of half now and half later. My motto is, if you really like the painting, I want it to go to a good home. What I don't know yet is how many of my paintings have made it to the landfill when people have moved. People have art, they buy it at Kmart. People have moved. People have art, they buy it at Kmart or whatever, and they hang it on their wall, and then they move from Iowa City or whatever, and they dump it or they sell it at an auction house. I recycle frames, and many of the frames that I use on my paintings, I've gotten either from dumpster dive days or at auctions for like $3 or $4, and some of them have some really nice art in them. So sooner or later, I'm going to walk up and find one of my own paintings sitting there by a dumpster probably, and then I'll be humbled, and then you can ask me what it feels like to sell your art and then have it end up being recycled. But the answer to your question is basically it's very rewarding. I think anything you make or you create and somebody else wants it gives.
Graphic design. Well, I started graduate school in 2008, and that's when I started doing graphic design. I did my Master of Fine Arts in Graphic Design, so I've been doing it off and on for about, 7 years? I don't necessarily consider myself an entrepreneur because most of the work I've gotten has just sort of fallen into my lap. I think if you do want to go into business, you have to have a very thick skin. You have to have sort of a lot of self-discipline, so that you can, because you're working for yourself instead of for somebody else, so you have to get up and go and do. You have to be rather extroverted, or at least comfortable with approaching people. You also have to have sort of the legal side of things figured out, your pricing, your contracts. There's a lot to it, which is why I teach and why I don't do business full-time, because it wouldn't be for me. But I think if you have a sense of salesmanship and you like selling yourself and selling what you do, then it can be really rewarding.
Okay, I did signs and graphic design. Signs for like vehicles for businesses and for storefronts and window displays. I actually thought, well, it's not always steady. It was really busy in the summertime, and so then I thought about teaching art where I'd have the summer off so I could still do some of it. Ooh. I did it for both. But now I actually, since I have a full-time job teaching art, which I love, I still have the summer where I can still do some sign business and make a little extra money.
Here we are outside of Kate's Yoga Shop, a real entrepreneurship.
It was actually a family idea. My stepmom came up with the idea, and I was just sort of the one that made the business plan and went to the bank and talked to them. And then once the Blippies closed, then we decided to take the space. Have any other business experience? The only previous job besides working in college was waitressing. So I talked to my manager and boss before I actually opened this place to get his advice, but that's it. We've been open for, it'll be 2 years on May 13th. I would say, it's a hard one. There's a lot of challenges. I think the biggest challenge for me was I had no experience doing this, so everything I did became a learning experience, from employees to just everyday things that had to go on at the store. So I would say the whole thing was a big challenge. We hope you have learned a lot from our cast today. Naveen Selvadurai, inventor of iPhone applications, has some advice for young entrepreneurs. 1. Be passionate about what you do. 2. Don't be afraid to take risks. 3. Understand that you won't get it right the first time. 4. Talk to people about your ideas and get feedback.